Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Crackin' Packs video. I am your host, Mr. Bevers. Today we're going to be cracking a box of Aether Revolt. You know, it's release weekend. Feels like it's necessary. Oh, it's like not even... Look at that. Normally that's already broken. This time it's not. So let's get right into things here. I've heard some crazy stories about people pulling things out of their bundles or their fat packs or bundles or whatever you want to call it. I have not seen an invention yet. I haven't opened a lot of Aether Revolt yet, so I mean it's not really surprising. I have a lot of Aether Revolt product on the way, so make sure you stay tuned for those things. This is box one of my case. So we're going to get right into things. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go this way again. Give me a little bit more space, because you guys don't need to see the packs per se. You can see them just sort of off camera there. That seems good. And then I can just start taking from here, and away we go. I like this setup a little bit better. So we're just going to plow right through things here. Okay. We'll go over the uncommons, just looking for those fatal pushes. And our first rare is a Kari Zev. Skyship Raider. There you go. That's the legendary red creature for 2. Gives you a little monkey when she attacks. Very good for activating your revolt triggers, since the monkey comes in and then leaves right after combat, which means your second main phase you can play cards that have a revolt trigger. And our second rare is a Battle at the Bridge. Decent removal card. Not terrible. Sorcery speed, not always the best. But you know. Well, you gotta think of it this way. There's a lot of X1s in this format. So having a 1/3 first striker doesn't seem terrible. Our third rare is this Quicksmith Spy. A little 2/3 for 4. And when it enters the battlefield, you get to make an artifact, basically draw you a card, as long as this guy remains in play. Lots of artifacts in this set, so not horrible. Not a horrible little card. Got a foil in this pack. We got a Greenbelt Rampager. This card's interesting. I can see it seeing a bunch of play in Standard, but we'll see how it goes. Depends on if people can generate the energy or not. Even not, I mean, it's still... If you have no way to generate the energy, you can still get an energy from this guy on the first 2 turns if you got nothing else better to do. Which is not terrible. So... And our first foil is an Aerial Modification. Put our foils over there. It's actually really hard to read that foil, isn't it? Maybe if we move the foil, if the foil's over here, is that easier to read? Yeah, it's a little bit easier to read. Oh, got another foil in this pack. Yeheni's Expertise. This is the best expertise so far in the set right now, or at least I should say highest value expertise in the set at the moment. Maybe not necessarily the best, depends on your playstyle, but it's very good. Basically a board wipe, or close to a board wipe, and then being able to play a card after that. with 3 or less. Seems pretty good. And our foil here is a Consulate's Turret. Consulate Turret. Little mechanic to get you some energy and shoot some things. And then we got Kari Zev's Expertise. In my opinion, the worst expertise out of all of them. I never feel like Active Treason should be a rare by any means. It's not a bad trick to take someone's creature and attack them with it, but paying a card that costs 2 or less after the fact, I don't know if there's going to be much you can do with it. And now people might find a way to break it or find a good combo with it, but I don't know. It would probably be okay in draft and limited, but I don't know if it'll see play in anything else. Our first Mythic. There you go. An Indomitable Creativity. So I haven't seen this Mythic yet, so this is an interesting one for me. It's 3 red and an X. Destroy X target artifacts and or creatures. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller reveals cards from the top of his or her library until an artifact or creature card is revealed and exiles that card. Those players put the exiled cards onto the battlefield, then shuffle their libraries. It's interesting. It's like a blow up all the things, and then also we all kind of go search for stuff and put them on the battlefield. Okay. Could be an interesting little like combo piece with some decks that don't run many creatures and just run a bunch of removal and then just one big creature. And you get to go put it on the table, right? Because it's... yeah, you reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact or a creature. So if you just don't run a lot of artifacts, like if you run no artifacts and you run like a giant creature and you play this, you're gonna get to go and get the get that big creature out of your library, which is interesting. Two Mythics in a row, and a pretty good Mythic at that. The Heart of Kiran. Like that's the priciest Mythic in the set right now. A 2 mana cost 4/4 with Flying and Vigilance with Crew 3. And then you can remove a loyalty counter from a Planeswalker you control rather than paying its crew cost, so not terrible. Not terrible. And we got an emblem for Tezzeret there. 2 Mythics so far, not bad. So far I haven't opened any Planeswalkers. One of my buddies who came to Friday Night Magic last night, he bought 2 boxes and brought them, and he got 2 Planeswalkers in one of his boxes. And his other box, he got an Invention. So, you know, some people have the luck, some people don't, right? There's our first Fatal Push. That's good. Good to see. Very good removal spell. And our rare here is a Green Wheel Liberator. 2/1 for 2 with Revolt. Green Wheel Liberator enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters on it if a permanent you control left the battlefield. So, can be a 4/3 for 2 mana. Not terrible, especially if you have some way to remove stuff out of your battlefield. Untethered Express. We got a Consulate Crackdown. This is a card that I was talking about in my last video. It seems like this is a type of card that will probably see some sideboard play, would be my guess. It's one of those things. And who knows, it may see actual play in Standard based on how many artifacts are kicking around, but who knows, right? Could be good, could be bad. Wow, a second Kari Zev's expertise. So that's 2 of those we've opened so far, and we're not even a third of the way through the box yet. It's a little disappointing, but you know, sometimes you get the doubles, the double rares. It happens. Treasure Keeper, Rogue Refiner, Enraged Giant, and a Whir of Invention. There you go, just a little instant with Improvise. Put it onto the battlefield. Not bad. This would be pretty good in an affinity deck. Go and pull out your biggest artifact out of your deck for basically just tapping all the little rinky-dink artifacts you've got on the table. Solemn Recruit. So 2/2 for 3 with double strike, which has Revolt that says at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you controlled left play or left the battlefield this turn, put a 1/1 counter on Solemn Recruit. So essentially it gets bigger and bigger as you bounce things out of play. Not a bad little card for this set, since this set has a whole bunch of cards that are about bouncing things out of play. A Narnam Renegade, very good uncommon. I like this card quite a bit. It's always nice to have a 1/2 Death Toucher for 1. Can't really complain about that. And we got another Mythic here. This is the Lightning Runner. This is a card that a lot of people, I'm not sure how people feel about this. What I've heard is that people are thinking it's not that great. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It gives you 2 energy when it attacks. It has double strike and haste. It's only a 2/2 for 5. But I mean, the fact that if you pay the 8, you get an additional attack phase. That's not bad. Could be okay. Could see some. I mean, it's obviously a high-end red card in a red aggro deck. I mean, it's not going to be in red deck wins because it's too much. It's too high of a cost. Got a foil in this pack. Deadeye Harpooner. Ornithopter. Airdropped Aeronauts. An Aether Geode Miner as our rare. And our foil is an Ice Over. Little enchantment for some control there. Another Mythic, Planar Bridge. There you go. So, 6 cost artifact. Tap 8, tap this, search your library for a permanent card, put it on the battlefield. I need to go get something out of my deck that answers whatever it is you have. Pay 8 mana because I'm going to pay 8 mana probably to cast that card anyway, if not more. Not bad. And since a lot of things have shifted to the enters the battlefield effects as opposed to when it's cast, card's pretty good. And we got a Hope of Girapur. It's a little 1/1 flyer for 1 that you can sack it in until your next turn. Target player who was dealt combat damage by this card can't cast non-creature spells. Interesting way to poke around with control decks. Hot garbage. Yeah, well, to each their own, right? Gifted Aetherborn. Hungry Flames. Efficient Construction. And we got a Secret Salvage. So 5 mana cost, sorcery spell. Exile target non-land card from your graveyard. Search your library for a number of cards with the same name as that card. So one of my buddies last night was talking to me about this card in conjunction with Hedron alignment, and how you could basically go and get all the copies. As long as you have one in your graveyard, you exile it, so now you have one in the exile zone. You go get the other 3 copies from your deck. You discard one, it's now in your graveyard, you play one, and now you have one in each zone that you need to have to win. So, it's kind of an interesting combo card with that. Yeah, it's not good. I agree. It's not necessarily a good card. Secret Salvage is not necessarily good, but at the same time, it's got an interesting combo that you can do with it, which is kind of interesting. Rogue Refiner, Invigorated Rampage, Enraged Giant, and a Scrap Trawler. It's a little 3/2 for 3. When it or another artifact you control is put into the graveyard from battlefield, return to your hand target artifact card in your graveyard with lesser converted mana cost. Interesting. It's an interesting card. See that being decent for affinity decks, since essentially all your artifacts get back your other artifacts. But then again, affinity doesn't really want their artifacts dying, so maybe it's not great. Inspiring Statuary. So, non-artifact spells you cast have Improvise. Basically just allows you to play your other cards by tapping your artifacts. We're about halfway through. We're halfway through, and we're at, what, 4 Mythics already? And 1 Fatal Push. Restoration Specialist, Ridge Scale Tusker, Hidden Stockpile, and an Aether Whale. Good old whale. 6/4 flyer for 6. When it enters the battlefield, you get 6 energy. Pay 4, return this to its owner's hand. So, you're getting 6, only having to pay 4 to return it. If you have some way to have 6 mana constantly while also bouncing that card, you can basically get infinite energy, which is an interesting concept. I don't know if infinite energy is useful for anything, but I'm sure people will find a way. Renegade Railer, Hungry Flames, Windkin Raiders, and a Dark Intimations. Which was, this is a thing that's interesting because this card lets you go and get a Bolos Planeswalker spell, except that there isn't one in Standard right now. So I think sort of hints toward what might be coming. Foundry Hornet, Hidden Herbalists, Illusionist Stratagem, and a Pia's Revolution. So this is an artifact, or an enchantment, I should say, that just deals damage to your opponents, unless they want you to get your artifacts back when they go to the graveyard. Okay, a foil here. Shielded Ether Thief, Aeronaut Admiral, Barricade Breaker, Baral's Expertise. So return up to 3 target artifacts and/or creatures to their owner's hand. Then you can cast a 4-cost card 4 or less, I should say, without paying its mana cost. And our foil, a foil mountain. Foil lands are always good times. I like foil lands. I already got the island, though. The island was the important one. That was the one that I was really like, Another foil here. Well, it's a good thing that I'm not cracking these boxes solely for value. I'm cracking these boxes for entertainment. I'm cracking these boxes for entertainment value for you guys. I crack this so that you don't have to. That's how this works, right? That's the famous line. Invigorated Rampage, Shielded Aether Thief, Perilous Predicament. A second Battle at the Bridge. So we have 2 Battle at the Bridges and 2 Karizev's Expertise in the same box. And our foil is a Shielded Aether Thief. It's a smart move. Schmuck of all trades. Saving your packs for drafting is a great plan. Always a great plan. Gifted Aetherborn, Malphus Revolutionary, Spire Patrol, and a Quicksmith Rebel. So this is much like the Quicksmith Spy, only instead of drawing cards, you get to do 2 damage with one of your artifacts. So there you go. Untethered Express, Maverick Thopterist, Reckless Racer, and we got an Ether Sphere Harvester. Not a bad vehicle. I got wrecked up by this in our pre-release event. My opponent had it. It's very hard to deal with if you don't have the right removal spells. A foil in this pack, Scrapper Champion, Trophy Mage, Aerial Modification, and an Oath of Ajani. I need another copy of this, so that's good. And our foil, a Night Market Guard. You're not late, you're early. And by that I mean, you're here about near the end of the first box. We still have a second box to open, so you got plenty of time. Renegade Railer, Thopter Arrest, Consulate Dreadnought, and a Midnight Entourage. So a 3/3 for 4. Other Aetherborn you control get +1/+1. When Entourage or another Aetherborn you control dies, you draw a card and lose a life. And our foil? Our foil rare is a Quicksmith Spy. So there's our foil rare from the box. Drawing cards, you know. Alright, I guess. Treasure Keeper. Vengeful Rebel. Lifecraft Awakening. And we got a Rish Car's Expertise. I had this in my pre-release, and it did work in Limited. Drawing 3 to 4 cards late game and being able to cast one, pretty decent. Well, I mean, listen, everyone's going to have different opinions, Kanaja. If you ask me, it's interesting. I kind of like the Revolt mechanic. It seems interesting. Bouncing things in and out of play has been something I've always enjoyed doing prior to Revolt even being mechanic. So, I mean, now that there's something that plays off of it, I'm interested to see how it'll work out. A lot of people don't like the set. A lot of people think it's very weak. So, second Fatal Push, that's good. That's 2 Fatal Pushes out of this box. Pretty decent. And we got a Spire of Industry. So it's not terrible little land. There's like a couple cards that are like super pricey, and then everything else is just kind of like mid-range, if anything. So a lot of people are upset with the power level, I think, of the cards. Foundry Hornet, Perilous Predicament, Monstrous Onslaught, and a Heroic Intervention. I had this card in my pre-release, and it did almost nothing for me. It doesn't seem great. Yes, that is. Yeah, I will agree with you there, McNeil. Is the inventions in this set are definitely way worse than the ones in. You've heard people compare this set to Dragon Maze? That's unfortunate. Since Dragon Maze was basically a joke. Aeronaut Admiral, Ornithopter, Renegade Wheelsmith, and a Baral Chief of Compliance. Pretty decent legendary creature. So he makes your instant sorceries cost 1 less. And whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you may draw a card, and if you do, discard a card. Well, I think that everyone was sort of hoping that the Kaladesh interesting, like the good stuff from Kaladesh would continue into Aether Revolt, and I guess the consensus is that that's not happening. I haven't played enough, right? I mean, I've only played in one pre-release event so far, and I haven't really, like, I don't read up on the spoilers, I don't do any of that kind of stuff, just because I like it to be a surprise for myself. Barricade Breaker, and we got a Walking Ballista. So it's an XX. That Walking Ballista enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. Tap, pay 4, you can put a 1/1 counter on it, remove a 1/1 counter from it, and it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So it gets to shoot things. It gets to shoot things. We're down to 2 packs here. 2 packs remaining. Yeah, there's some decent, there's some pretty decent black cards. Fatal Push is a very good removal spell. It's black. I would say that Baral, Chief of Compliance, is a pretty decent blue card. The Yeheni's Expertise is a very good black card as well. Restoration Specialist, Thopter Arrest, Consulate Dreadnought, and a Lifecrafter's Bestiary. I had this card in my pre-release as well. It did work. This card did work in my pre-release. Getting to scry every upkeep and then paying a green to draw a card when you play creature spells is amazing in Limited. It's super card advantage. It was great. Every time I played it, my opponent immediately went, I need to remove that somehow. And I was like, yeah, yep. Alright. A Renegade Rallier, this is the last pack. Maverick Thopterist, Reckless Racer, and an Aid from the Cowl. And no foil there. So, overall, 4 Mythic box. I think that's about average. But we did get a Heart of Kiran. No Planeswalkers. Still no Planeswalkers. So, you know, that's a little disheartening, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, we'll get through the rest of the case and see how it goes. We got 2 Fatal Pushes, though, so that's pretty decent. A Foil Mountain, not terrible. And yeah, so not too bad, not too bad. But yeah, so thank you all for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, if you could like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next video.